Hello, I'm Matt Clarke, Practical Fishkeeping's website editor, and this is Jeremy Gay, Practical Fishkeeping's deputy editor.
Hello.
And we're here at my place in North Yorkshire for the first Practical Fishkeeping video podcast. We're going to be looking at a few of the most interesting news stories to come in for the last week, a couple of blog posts, a couple of your tanks, a few product reviews.
A few products, yeah.
And look at some of the competitions that you can enter on the website this month. It's the first one we've done, so it probably won't be that great. So
bear with us, in other words.
Bear with us. There's a comments form down there, so if you have any feedback on what you think of it or what you'd like to see in future podcasts, just let us know. Anyway, let's go on with it.
Let's do it.
We've now got about 1,000 tanks in your tanks, which is really good.
It's been a really popular section of the website.
After the news and the forum, it's the next best popular bit, so it's growing really rapidly.
Keep sending them in because we picked some of the best ones and put them in the magazine as well.
Yeah.
So.
Well, some of our favourite ones. I don't think they're always, in my opinion, the best ones. They're not always the ones that
I haven't got to choose yet. When I choose, I'll pick the best.
Is it Karen?
Liz at the moment, our acting editor, Liz Berry.
Anyway, onto your tanks. The one that I'm picking as my favourite from the sort of recent submissions that we've got is David Hilliard's tank.
This is an interesting tank.
It is interesting. It actually looks a bit like it's been stone clad, and I'm not really a fan of stone.
It's a Flintstones aquarium.
A Flintstones aquarium. Is that what it's called?
No.
Oh, right. Anyway,
it's a tank covered in stone and fake stone.
It's outside, and it's next to this guy's house, and the urn is there pouring water into it, and it's got goldfish in it, and it actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, one thing that I noticed is the dimensions are good. It's 47 inches by 24 by 17, which actually gives a volume of 317 litres or 70 gallons. So as aquariums go, I mean, most quirky aquariums are quite impractical. But
I saw it. I thought this was something that he'd made himself and stone clad with a stone cladding.
You can definitely buy these. I coincidentally found one on the web within days of him putting it on. But anyway.
So do you know who makes them?
Oh, I don't. I can find out and we can...
stick it on the show notes at the end.
Yeah, stick it on the screen.
Yeah. It's good though, I'm quite
it's cold water. Filtration's interesting. It's got, if we just scroll down a little bit...
It's got a heater in it to stop it from freezing, to keep the temperature at 12 degrees. And it's got a UV clarifier on there to keep it from going green. Okay. Presumably he has to rub the glass every day to stop the glass from going green, but it does look very, very good. I'm quite impressed with it.
Filtration is 3 internal filters, 1 in each corner and 1 reverse under gravel. You don't really see reverse under gravel filters these days, but they can work quite well with goldfish because they keep the pea gravel turned over, then the internal filters can pick up the debris, so it's not a bad system.
Yeah, it's an interesting little tank. It's got 2 spotlights on it as well as natural sunlight as well, which I thought was quite interesting.
Well, the spotlights are in the water though, I think. I think they're pond lighting. I can see one there. So they're kind of underwater halogen spots probably. Just as feature lighting.
That would look quite good on this patio.
It's an interesting tank.
Fit in well with his house as well. It's the same kind of appearance, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder if anyone would ever have one indoors. Because it's kind of quirky and different.
Well, it would look odd, I think, in a house, unless you had that kind of...
Conservatory, maybe? Or?
Yeah, something like that. But, you know, you don't see tanks outdoors very often, do you? We've only got a couple of others in your tanks that are outdoors, so that's a really unusual one, and it's quite highly rated as well. It's got a score of about 4.6 out of 5.
Yeah, as I say, I like it because it's practical, the size is practical, he hasn't overstocked it, it's got a UV, it's got bags of filtration, there's nothing wrong with it, it's a good tank.
It's one of the most interesting tanks I've seen on your tanks for ages.
One that I've just found, this one is from a guy called Big Bob J. The picture struck me because as you flash through all the hundreds of tanks on the Your Tanks section, some just kind of catch your eye, do you know what I mean? And this one, it's got lots of pulse corals and macroalgae and sponges, and it looks very natural. And it was only when I actually scrolled down and looked at the pictures that I found out that this tank, which I assume was 3 or 4 feet long, is actually 13 inches by 13 inches by 17 inches.
It's a little hexagon tank, isn't it?
It's tiny. It's got a volume of 47 litres, approximately. Big Bob J calls it a mini reef setup. It's got live rock and coral sand.
It's what most people would call a nano, really, isn't it?
It's a nano, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's got 2 18-watt T5s in it. How he's managed to cram those into his hood, I don't really know.
Well, I don't know how he controls heat either, because heat is the major problem with nanos. It's all very well cramming lots of light in there, but presumably it must run very hot.
The inside look like they're doing quite well though, and from the actual picture of his established tank, it's looking, you know, quite lush inside.
Well, it does look good.
There, really.
There's no mention of a skimmer yet. He's got, you you know, he's got thriving corals, presumably.
And he's got clowns in there as well. Is it one clown or more than one clown?
I think
see one in there anyway.
We can see one. There is a bit of a sticking point with this one.
It's kind of small for clowns, in my opinion, but it seems to be fine in there, doesn't it?
Well, so it's doing okay. I mean,
it isn't what we'd recommend.
Water quality is perhaps not an issue. We can tell that because the corals are doing really well. If he moves the clown onto a larger tank, that would be far better, because even common clowns, percolator clowns, they can get to kind of 4 inches long, so bigger tank is better. But different, effective, caught my eye.
Yeah, he's got a score of about, 3.2-ish?
Yeah.
Which is sort of above average, really.
It hasn't been on there that long, has it? It hasn't got huge amounts of comments, so...
Anyway, right, so if you've got a tank that's not on your tanks,
make
sure you send it to us.
Upload
Before
it.
you do it, please make sure you crop your images down so they're about 800 by 600 or smaller. Otherwise the uploader might fail and you'll hurt my server. So yeah, send in your tanks and you might see them on the podcast next time we do it.
Or in the magazine.
Or in the magazine. Okay, the Ultimate Guide to Reef Aquarium Systems under 15 gallons, the Nano Reef handbook by Chris R. Brightwell. What do you reckon to this one, Jeremy?
Well, it's only just arrived in the office. It hasn't gone into the magazine yet. Karen gave it to me because obviously Nano is a big thing in the magazine and all across the UK, really. A Nano Reef handbook, a marine Nano handbook, is definitely what the UK hobbyists want, really. But flicking through it, there's a couple of things that we picked up which maybe aren't that UK friendly. First of all, it's for 15 gallons, but that's 15 US gallons, which we estimate to be around about 55 litres, something like that, which is about a 24 by 12 inch by 12 inch aquarium. But you just need to note that that's US and not UK gallons.
Some of the pictures don't look to be particularly well chosen as well. They're not really nano tanks, for a start, we noticed, didn't we? And some of the choices of fish that are in the tank pictures are really not nano friendly. There's things like Serranus bass in there, and
it's a harlequin bass, that one.
I've got tangs in. So you know, if you unless you knew what you were looking at, you could be misled into thinking that these were safe species for a nano aquarium, really.
Yeah, and one other thing that we find is that it's a Nano Reef handbook, but there aren't actually any pictures of any nano tanks set up and working. There's lots of nice shots in it of corals and fish and mature aquariums, but they're certainly not 15 gallons or under. They're just generic shots. And obviously, working with magazines and books as we do, we know how hard it is to match up pictures and text correctly. But personally, I'd prefer to see some actual working, mature nano tanks in there.
It could be more inspirational, couldn't it? If there was lots of pictures in there of amazing looking nano tanks, it would sell the book a lot better. But as it is, it's I mean, the information is probably okay. I've not read it in great detail. Or in any detail.
Yeah, but, we must stress that this is just first impressions. I haven't read the book and neither has Matt, so we'll have to give it a read and see. But first impressions are that, I'd like to see more nano aquarium pictures in there, and I'd perhaps prefer to see a UK-friendly version. We get a lot of our literature and our reef aquarium books, and lots of our books are obviously in the English language, but they're American and they do things slightly differently to we do. They've got different ideas on, say, lighting. The American marine tanks tend to have quite blue lighting and they tend to use more LPS or large polyp stony corals than we do. So what the ideal for me would be to see a UK version of this book with some pictures of UK nano tanks, because as we've seen on the Your Tanks section of the magazine, there are loads of good UK reef keepers who are keeping nano reef tanks. So marks out of 10 so far?
Well, I can't really say without having read it, but it looks okay. I haven't seen any massive glaring errors in it or anything like that, apart from the fact that there's a giant isopod labelled as a mantis shrimp.
Yeah,
but
it happens.
The pictures have probably got very little to do with the author.
Yeah,
so,
I spotted, like Matt, a few fish in there. There's a psychedelic mandarin fish in there. Mandarins, as most people know, they're difficult anyway. I certainly wouldn't recommend them for nano aquariums. It would have to be a very mature nano, ideally with a refugium attached to it. But tricky species and not recommended for the nano.
It doesn't look bad, but it could have been a lot better.
Okay.
Shall we move on to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it. This is quite an interesting product.
Quite a controversial one.
Yes, we first saw this at Glee Pet Index, which is a trade show, two years ago now.
Was it 2005?
It was 2006, September, October time, 2006. There was a stand at Glee by a company called Organic Aqua, and there was quite a crowd around it actually, and it was creating quite a lot of a buzz. And basically, the claims by the people who were on the stand was that this is a bit of a miracle product, and they actually had saltwater and freshwater aquariums set up, running, fully stocked, but with no filtration. All there were some air lines bubbling up in the water, and this stuff, Organic Aqua.
Yeah, and it's claimed to remove ammonia, nitrite and nitrate, and also protect and boost fish immune systems.
Yeah, and as far as I've been told, it's also claims to dechlorinate as well.
Really?
So
it's got some quite big claims, really, and they don't really tell you very much about it, because I quizzed the guy with you, didn't I, on the stand.
Steve Whiteside.
Yeah, who's the distributor of it in the UK. I think it's made in South Africa, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he couldn't really tell us an awful lot about the actual way that it worked, because the company that supplies it to him wouldn't really divulge the information, which is quite often the case with products in the aquarium trade, really.
Yeah.
So we were pretty sceptical of it, weren't we?
Yes.
And
I mean, Matt, obviously you're a scientist. As far as I'm concerned, a bacterial product could easily get rid of ammonia and nitrite, possibly deal with nitrate. But as for bacteria dechlorinating, what's going on there? Is that possible?
Well, I think some bacteria can break down chlorine. Yeah, that's been recently shown. I mean, what do you get inside the packet? You get this what looks like plant material or wood or something in a little sachet. What's this one? It looks to me like salt or something along those lines, but it might actually be a different type of chemical. It's just a white powder, a white granular powder. And this is just what it calls a general treatment, which creates and maintains a healthy water ecology made from non-toxic plant materials. But it tells you virtually nothing about it. But the interesting thing was, I thought, while we were at Glee, Jeremy ran off to get a test kit.
Yes.
To look at the water in this tank, which was a little bit cloudy, wasn't it? There was, what was in there? Seahorses, wasn't it?
Seahorses. There were quite a few corals in there as well, and I noticed that the water was cloudy and that the corals weren't doing that well. Steve Whiteside, he's a really good bloke. He was quite open and honest with myself and Matt, and he allowed me to run off and get a test kit and test his water, because he personally was quite enthusiastic about finding out more about the product. Now I dipped the test strip into the water, and I registered ammonia, nitrite and nitrate. So clearly on that day, in that tank, on that stand with this product, it wasn't doing what it said it would do on the packet.
But that said, after the Glee, I did actually receive emails and read stuff on the web elsewhere from people saying that they believe the product to be an effective product that works.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Whiteside actually uses this in his shop apparently in Ireland.
Yeah.
And he uses it to acclimatise fish, and he even says that he uses it instead of filtration even on heavily stocked tanks. So
it's the kind of thing that really needs a lab to look at it, really, to find out A, what's inside it, and B, how it works.
Yes.
Nice. I mean, we could do a crude test. We haven't done it. We've had it for ages.
Steve did want us to, by the way. He's been badgering me about this for months, if not years, to test it. It's just that at PFK, obviously, we don't want to put any fish through any stress, and so as much as I'd like to set up a tank, if any ammonia or nitrite does become present, then it's not fair on the animals. We need to whip them out really quickly, get them into a mature aquarium, and so we're not really up for testing it in such a crude way, like you say.
If anybody's got a lab or has got the scientific know-how to run a test on it, maybe some of the guys at Sparshot or something.
Yeah.
If they want a few packets, I'm sure we could blag some extra ones from Organic Aqua to try and get a trial going to see what they think of it.
Sure, it's certainly an interesting product.
We've heard good things, and obviously we've seen bad things, because it didn't appear to be working in the tank that we looked at Glee.
That's right. It raised a lot of eyebrows. A lot of people were quite sold on the idea, but us being a bit sceptical at PFK, we tended to...
I mean, it may well work, but there's a lot of snake oil type products on the aquarium market that probably don't really work very well.
Just big claims though. I mean, on health treatment, it says in combination with the general treatment, whatever that is, fish loss will be reduced by up to 80%.
How do you put a figure like that on it?
Exactly.
I don't know.
A big claim.
Interesting. Anyway, it'd be interesting to find out what the tests show if somebody can test it in a controlled environment, really.
Yeah, we're as open-minded as the next person at PFK. We're always embracing new products, but when seasoned fish keepers come up against a miracle product such as this that says that you can do away with your filter and still keep freshwater or even marine fish, we need to give it some testing, I think.
We do, yeah. Right, next one?
Yep. This is another interesting product. Again, it arrived in the office quite a while ago. I've kind of dug these out just for everyone to have a look at. This is a Roxy Specialist Fish Food Dispenser. Never seen anything quite like it before. Obviously, we've got automatic feeders and slow release food blocks, but this has got quite a homemade quality to it.
Here it is here. And it's like a sort of, what is it, ABS plastic or something? It's that high density stuff like the fluval externals are made from.
My first impression was it was almost like something that you'd fit on a drill. It's bizarre. It's like something you'd get from a DIY shop.
It's got a bit of lead in the middle to weight it down, and it's got these various 8 or 9, 10 chambers
which arrive in pots like this.
Put food into. There's a sort of tube effects like block there. Which one's that?
Let's have a look.
It's a little cube thing anyway with the sort of freeze-dried.
It is. It just says fish food cubes. Oh yeah, tube effects, freeze-dried tube effects.
And there's various pellets and things in there. And the idea is that you stick them inside this thing, shut it, and stick it on the bottom of your tank. And I guess the pellets must float up and stick to these little holes in the top. But I'm not really sure there's actually a niche for this product, because why not just stick that in the tank?
Yes.
And the fish would just eat it anyway, wouldn't they? You know, people have survived for decades by just dropping foods into their tanks.
It's bizarre.
Why put the pellets inside a container? I'm not really sure I understand.
Yeah. So
really.
It's either going to emit food very quickly and potentially cloud the water, or the fish are going to get in there and eat it, which is possibly a bad thing if a fish gets stuck, or not a lot's going to happen at all, really.
Yeah, or the food will just sit in there and rot.
Yeah. Now it does actually come with this.
You put too much in and you don't pay attention.
It comes with this extendable handle. There's several extensions.
Although I've got my own extendable handle. Just stick my arm in and take it out, wouldn't it?
Precisely. And basically, you can use this handle to lift the device up and back out the aquarium. Really bizarre. Commercial potential out of 10, 1. Not really impressed. Good luck to the guy who made it. Thanks for sending it in. He sent it in some commendations from various retailers and hobbyists, but I wouldn't want to put it in my tank.
No, I think we've just given him a bit of a Dragon's Den style bash in there. But like you say, yeah, it is a kind of
it's
an
just
odd product, really.
It's weird. It just doesn't strike me as being very fish friendly.
What's this? Calcium sulfate. Oh, it's holiday wafers. What? Strange. Another weird one. So
Calcium sulfate?
Yeah.
What's that?
You normally plaster of Paris, don't you?
Yeah.
With bits of fish food in. And he's made his own ones here out of calcium sulfate with, I guess, I can see a tiny bit of food there.
Okay.
Inside. Strange.
So he's made a slow release wafer with minimal food.
Clever guy for making all the bits and pieces, but I wouldn't really be the person that it would be aimed at, so it's probably unfair of me to criticise it quite so heavily, but it's not really my product.
Again, we haven't tested it. We do require someone to test it. We always try and test every product that we receive in the PFK office. If anyone wants to try it out, if anyone's got lots of hardy fish in lots of tanks that are well filtered and they don't mind trying a few things out for us, again, email matt.clarke@emap.com or jeremy.gay@emap.com. And the first person to mention holiday food in the email, we'll send it out to you, and you can keep it and try it out for us.
Yeah, let us know how it goes.
Excellent.
Okay, new freshwater stingray described from Myanmar, or Burma, if you like to call it Burma.
Now, this is quite an interesting picture because straight away this fish looks horrible. It's presumably a preserved specimen.
Yeah, it's a preserved one.
Looks not unlike a mushroom.
No, yeah, it does look a bit mushroom-like. Hyok Hee Ung, who writes our news stories for us, or some of our news stories for us.
Who we've met.
We have indeed. Went out for a meal with him in Singapore, and I actually
Very nice chap.
ate stingray while I was there.
Yes, I did too.
Yeah, he works at the National University of Singapore, where he's an ichthyologist. And
he's only young, isn't he?
He's not old, yeah. I don't know how old he is actually.
Our age, perhaps.
He must be, yeah, around sort of 30-ish, I guess. He's described tons of things, including stuff like the emperor botia.
Yes.
A month or so ago.
Does he do catfish as well? I'm sure.
Yeah, but he's a catfish specialist. Yeah,
Asian cats, was it?
Yeah, erythistids mainly, I think. But he's done loads of things. He's a real all-rounder, really. Very exciting ichthyologist, really. So he took this picture of the stingray, which is deposited at the museum that he works at.
Yep.
I've not seen any other pictures of it, so it's quite a rare picture.
And
so
coming from Myanmar, this is an Asiatic ray. At first glance, it looks not unlike a Hymantura.
Yeah, it does look quite Hymantura-like. It's apparently closely related to Pastinacus, which is a genus of, I believe, only marine rays. Things like the cow nose ray, I think, is Pastinacus.
But this is secondary freshwater fish. Is that what they call it when they evolve from marine species?
Exactly, yeah. It's been named Macara raja chindwinensis because it comes from the Chindwin River, which is a tributary of the Irrawaddy drainage, and it's the only stingray so far known from...
This is Tyson Roberts?
Yeah, Tyson Roberts. He's the guy that described the celestial pearl danio, Celestichthes margaritatus. He's quite old, and I'm not sure whether he's gone into semi-retirement, but he hasn't done an awful lot of stuff recently, apart from the Celestichthes thing. I think this actually came out very late last year, but it's only been published recently.
Okay. So this is of interest because it's in a new genus?
It's in a new genus, yeah. It's so different from other known Asian rays that it's been placed in a genus all of its own. And it's apparently in a subfamily, Pastinaceae, or how do you pronounce it? Pastinacinae? I don't know, something like that. With the Pastinacus rays, which I guess, they're a member of the Dasyatid family, so it will be, I guess, a sister group to Dasyatid or something.
Why hasn't it been found and described until now? Is it quite rare?
It looks quite big.
I mean, my guess is that coming from Myanmar, these fish. What is the story on Myanmar? I mean, it used to be called Burma.
Problems there, as you obviously know from the news now. But in the last few years, there's been masses of imports coming in.
Are these legal?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, there's import companies working in Myanmar and exporting through, I think, the Thailand border. And there's been loads of really exciting fish like the celestial pearl danio.
Yeah, lots of cyprinids.
From there, and also the emperor botia that was described by Hyok Hee a month or so ago has come from there as well. So there's loads of interesting things being found there. I'm guessing that the change in the political status of the country might mean that we see less stuff coming out in the future.
It's getting worse.
I don't think it's getting any better, is it?
Okay.
But it had been bad. It had got slightly less bad.
Yeah.
And now it's gone unbelievably bad.
Which is a shame because there's loads of good fish there. Yeah. I'd be quite up for going if it wasn't so politically dodgy.
It's a very safe place to go, unfortunately, particularly if you're a journalist.
Don't like the British, perhaps, as well?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't really know anything about the...
Aquarium potential?
No idea. I don't even know how big it gets. I don't believe it actually says in Hyok Hee's article. I'm guessing it's sort of 50 centimetre plus.
So if we compare that with, say, a Hymantura, an Asian species of ray...
Yeah, I mean, some of those are actually quite small. Some Hymantura get huge,
massive. I've seen some pictures on the web of huge Hymantura.
Yeah, because I mean they're among that Megafishes project target species, but there are other
interesting imports, didn't you?
Oxyrhynchus.
Is that a smaller one?
I believe it is a small one.
Yeah. Not massively.
American stingrays.
Yeah.
And they're a lot rarer in the hobby. You very rarely see them. They're not that expensive though, compared to the South American ones, are they?
No, but they're wild catching them, aren't they? So
yeah, I guess that's the difference. I mean. Probably the problem with, definitely the problem with South American rays at the moment is that there are hardly any imports of them that are legal, of many species anyway.
Some imports of certain species of ray have been stopped, haven't they? Leopoldi?
Yeah, well, I think it's most of the, anything that's on the Obama's good list.
I think we still see Matoros and Reticulatus coming through. But,
anyway, right, next one. What's the next one? Onto the blogs now. Acropolis Now is the first one we're talking about.
Okay.
Of the many blogs that we've had.
I haven't seen this one.
His name you might recognise from the forum.
Prolific
he
poster.
actually lives there.
Yes. Very nice chap from what I gather.
Yeah, good sense of humour.
Yep.
Always active on various parts of the forum.
Quite knowledgeable as well.
Yeah. Nice bloke.
I think so, yeah.
Anyway, he's written this blog post for us on... it's called Acropolis Now, and it's about the weird stuff that people put in their tanks. But Bob's basically asking, what is it that makes people put a Greek ruin or a fighter plane in their tank?
Is he saying it's diabolical, or is he saying...
Well, obviously he's saying that it's aimed at children a lot of the time.
Okay.
Sometimes these things must be not being purchased by children. Because, I mean, I can't remember where it is, but I've seen a sort of a 6-foot-long sunken galleon thing at the shop. Is that the one at Maidenhead Aquatics in Peterborough?
There used to be one in Maidenhead, Cardiff as well.
Right.
And I've seen them in London, so
I mean,
they are
so
produced.
Cheesy, in my opinion. It's not my cup of tea. If that's in your tank, then
well,
sorry.
No, carry on, because I've got an opinion on this. So carry on.
Well, I've never had anything like that in my tank, even when I was a nipper. And I had.
You're just a purist through and through, aren't you?
Well, yeah, it must have been drummed into me by my dad. I think.
Biotope or nothing.
Yeah, well, I've not always had biotopes.
Yeah.
But I've never had anything more cheesy than a flower pot. Okay. Really.
At one point, I had the full Monty fluorescent gravel and these kind of Technicolor
just
castles.
Before you started at PFK?
After, actually. No, only joking. I was a kid, obviously. I think for me, it was me trying to kind of impress the tank on other people, because I was a bit of a secret fish geek, and I probably had some top secret fish breeding project going on in there, but to keep my friends and my family happy, I probably filled it with psychedelic stuff too.
That's the point that a couple of people have made on there. If they've got children, they'll quite often put something like a ruin or a skull or whatever in the tank.
It's the non-fish keepers that want it, isn't it?
Yeah. To give them a little bit of interest. But my daughter's quite happy to look at my fish and be interested in them without having...
But does she know any other?
That's because I'm not going to tell her any other, so she'll be all right.
Lily Clarke, I'm going to educate you later. Ornaments. Steve Windsor, our MD, actually made a comment, and it was quite a sensible one, in that he actually raised the point that these fish don't see a Roman temple or a skull, they just see breeding potential, cover to explore and a cave to hide in. As long as the decor is chemically safe, has no sharp edges and can't trap your fish, I reckon it's a matter of taste, but not to his taste. That's a fair comment, I think.
It's a fair comment, yeah. It's a very valid point, but not my taste either.
Yeah, at one of the stores that I worked at, we had some Congo lumpheads, some blockheads, Cranus, and we put kind of a castle ornament in there, and they took up residence, and they almost looked like sentries in this kind of castle. They'd kind of pop their heads out of the windows and the doors, and they were very happy in there. So
what's the most cheesy thing you've got in your tank now then? Have you got anything remotely cheesy in there?
No, but I've always fancied doing a marine tank with something like an anchor or something in real scale, but covering it with corals.
Yeah,
and it's kind of almost realistic.
British river scene, couldn't you, with like a shopping trolley and some beer cans or something?
We actually, the more kind of seasoned readers of PFK will remember years ago. Do you remember it?
Did it? Yeah, I remember it. They were, I think they were varnish coated Castlemaine Thorax cans.
I didn't see that.
Didn't you?
I was thinking of the one
there was a shopping trolley one as well, I think.
Was there?
I believe so.
I was thinking of the one where they made a kind of a wooden panel thing.
Maybe I'm getting confused, but
and there was some vallis and some rud in there.
One.
Okay.
But I vaguely remember a Castlemaine Thorax one.
Yeah, I thought it was quite effective, and I'm quite keen on aquascaping, as you know, and I'm always looking for that kind of fourth dimension, something that themes it and something that makes it unique and different. And it's kind of my nemesis, but I want to get something kind of out of the aquatic, outside of the aquatic world, and put it in, but make it look good if I can. So
yeah.
But no, I've seen some weird stuff. There's a vodka bar that I frequented once, and they had vodka bottles wrapped in barbed wire.
A bar that only sells vodka?
Yes. Have you not seen these?
I've never heard of such a thing.
Matt, you need to get out more. There's plenty of them. But anyway, empty vodka bottles in a marine tank wrapped in barbed wire. Bizarre. Not good for the fish, not recommended. Right. Presumably the barbed wire is going to rust as well.
On to the next blog. George Farmer's one. 15 days since planting. I'll just put it up.
George is prolific again, as we know. Modern, different methods of growing plants, and he's been doing a blog on one of the many tanks that he's set up recently.
Yeah, basically he had an algae disaster.
Okay.
It's Rio 125 about 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Yep.
Which he photographed.
I think it was because he went on holiday, is that right?
Yeah, he went on holiday and something happened, and he basically got algae all over everything, so he decided to just scrap the lot and start again from afresh. And he's blagged a lot of stuff and plants free from chopper, and he's documenting his progress in restoring his tank to its former glory, or to possibly a better tank.
Okay, I believe he's actually trying out some new plant species for chopper as well.
Yeah.
I don't think he's allowed to show anyone, so don't pester him for pictures, you won't get any. But I've had a sneak peek and they're quite interesting.
You've been to his house to see?
But I can't say anything, so move on. So, okay.
It's very popular. There's not many comments so far, but people seem to be enjoying the series that he's doing.
Yeah.
I think it'll be really good to see in these aquascaping competitions and things.
The tank looks far better than it did previously. It looked a bit stringy and a bit...
weeks back.
Yeah, when he first set it up.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, the glossy stigma on the bottom is only really starting to grow, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before, when you initially plant it, or when he'd first planted it, if that had been my tank, I'd have thought, God, it doesn't look very good now, and I'd have probably been tempted to put more plants in.
You need a bit of foresight, don't you, with these things?
Got that.
Yeah.
Which, as somebody that's not really very good at growing plants, I don't really have. But yeah, it looks great, I think. It's going to look brilliant when it's done, because obviously that glossy stigma on the bottom is going to carpet everything nicely.
I love glossy stigma. For those who aren't aware, George Farmer recently set up a tank for me at my house after I had a bit of an algae disaster. And it was very nice, very nice indeed. Hopefully he's going to do one for... yeah, everyone's going to want one. He can only do so many, but we're very privileged, and thanks to George for doing that. What I want to say is that the results were quite spectacular. As I said before, I love aquascaping. I'm really into aquarium design, and I love good-looking tanks.
Away to George, didn't you?
Well, I'm moving house, so he's got it on long-term loan. But he ripped it out as soon as he got it.
I'm quite surprised at that. I thought
that tank was brilliant. Yeah. That tank was really, really nice. I was really impressed with it. But George, being George, ripped it out, and
he's done something else.
Now it's something else, which is great. And you know, it's all in the name of progress. So I'll get over it.
Just mention a couple of competitions that we've got running on the site at the moment.
Okay.
If you're a registered member of the website and you go to the competitions section, there's a couple of competitions there that you can enter if you haven't done so already. One of them is an opportunity to win a subscription to PFK, which can't be bad.
Where do you find the competition section then, Matt?
Go to the main front page or any page on the website, and it's the second box down on your left-hand side.
Oh, okay.
The little brown one underneath the box, which tells you whether you're logged in or not.
What competitions have we got?
Well, the first one is the one to win a subscription, and the other one is the one to win a copy of an aquascaping DV starring certain Jeremy Gay.
Interesting close-up. I wanted this tank to have a little more impact, so I've gone for something.
Wow.
Which has just gone on sale, I believe. $15.99.
Yeah, we've got lots of copies in the PFK office. If you contact Laura Wilcox,
it's pretty good, I must say.
Well, it's the first one we've done, and basically. Part of my PFK job is to review books and products and DVDs, etc. And I reviewed quite a few DVDs recently. And again, I've always got this issue with DVDs that have been made in a different country. Maybe they're not as familiar to the UK Fishkeeper as they should be. For me, it's always
the information they give on cycling, which is generally pretty
cycling, fish size. You've got a kind of a PFK ethical stance, and we just came up with it one day that maybe we thought we'd try and make our own. And don't expect it to be like a Hollywood movie or anything, because it's the first time I'd ever done anything. And
and you did them all in one take as well.
I did.
Pretty amazing.
It was all in real time.
All clear as well, which is also very, very difficult to do because the camera picks up everything, doesn't it? That's not easy at all.
Well, this is it. I mean, there's one thing I always try to do in my previous setups in the mag, and something that I said to you many years ago when you first took me on, is that all the tanks I make, I try and make them long term and practical. It is practical fish keeping at the end of the day, and I'm never going to set up a tank that's not going to work long term, hopefully, touch wood.
Yeah.
And I do test them out, and although perhaps I'm never going to reinvent the wheel with my aquascaping, hopefully they'll be practical and easy to do.
Yeah. So anyway, if you want to watch the trailer for the DVD, you can watch that either in the competition section, or it's also displayed on our blog as well. It's only a few minutes long, and it's actually quite interesting. It shows you some of the stuff that you can expect to see in the DVD.
So buy it, because the more you buy,
the more money we make.
No, it wasn't that I was thinking of. If what I meant to say was, if this one goes well, then hopefully we can make some more.
On commission?
No, I'm not. I'm not. People think I am. I'm not. Genuinely, don't buy it. Well,
anyway,
whatever.
It's £15.99, and if you want to buy it, you can call the office on 01733 288 003.
Yep.
If you don't want to buy it, you can watch the trailer on here, and you can take part in the competition. You've got to answer a simple question. What are rock-dwelling cichlids from Lake Malawi called? Is it Mabuna, Mabipi or Utaka? So click the answer that you want to add to the competition, stick your details in there, and if we pull your name out of the digital hat on the closing date, you'll get a free copy of our DVD.
And there's 5 to give away.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Okay.